Let's make sure the sound works. Hello, hello. It doesn't work?
It works. But why are we gross couch cookies?
Um, because it didn't ask me what to call it. Usually it asks me. Whatever, we'll change it afterwards. So we got sound?
What?
We got sound?
Yes, it's good.
Alright. Alright, how y'all doing? Wait, let me get my thing. So this is a special stream. It's like, I need to actually hear myself. Alright. So this is a special stream behind the scenes of how we do the sound for Bad Neighbor Productions. We would really love it if like there's other people kind of doing the same thing we do. And when we started this project, we didn't really have a lot of equipment. As you can see, our room is not like treated in any way. We got like windows here. The floors are made of wood. So, our environment is overall very substandard, and also our gear is substandard, but somehow we get a pretty decent sound out of it. And I want you guys to know that if you're doing jam sessions anywhere in the world, you can probably get it to streaming with whatever you have lying around the house. Like, I mean, not your grandma's house. It's not like shit from the kitchen, but like if you've been a musician for a few years, got a few microphones and a sound card and shit like that, you can very possibly, already have all the things you need to stream. Maybe you spend $100 here, $100 there. We're also really lucky because I'm a graduate of Vancouver Film School. So is Nova and Kulan. They're both going to VFS right now. Kulan's graduating soon, and Nova in 4 months. So VFS has amazing resources where you can rent out microphones and recorders and mic stands and all kinds of devices that we've so far used to kind of up the quality of our streams. And we have some stuff, we're slowly buying things, and that's where you guys come in. If you guys like donate to us, we can kind of become, like, the more money we have, we can upgrade our video and audio like more and more, maybe get some treatment, maybe get some extra channels. Kind of like the main philosophy of the sound from the beginning for me was like compromise. Like, there's no way to have perfect sound without spending 10 grand, so let's just compromise. And I'll talk about kind of how we came to a lot of these compromises, how we kind of did. Let me get the mic closer to me or closer to the front. Yeah, that's better. Um, yeah, like one of my main issues from the beginning that we're slowly kind of solving, but it's still a matter of compromise, is monitoring versus recording. So if you have a kind of professional environment, you are not listening to the audio that's being recorded. You're listening to a representation of that audio. So audio gets into a mixer of some sorts, and then you hear it out of that through headphones or monitors, right? We don't have that. We have to listen to the sound that we're recording because we got amps here, we got like acoustic instruments, all very close to each other, bleeding into each other's mics. And we gotta also hear this, and we gotta make sure it sounds good for the stream and it sounds good where we're hearing it, which is really hard to do. I'll try to make this not super technical and nerdy. There's a lot of like nerdy stuff kind of behind all of this, which, I mean, if you guys are watching, you have questions, Nova is gonna like read them out to me.
But there's nothing yet.
Yeah, so people, like, if you have questions,
Viewers on Facebook.
that's good. Yeah, if you have questions, send them over, write them down. Don't just be a lurker, like, say stuff. And if you want me to go into like the deep nerdy territory, I will. If you want me to keep it really practical, I will. Right now, my intention is kind of just like run you through some of the basics. I want to show you what we do, but I also want to show you that what you got works. So if you have questions like, hey, I got this mic, will this mic work for this or that? I can show you, and I can talk about all those things. So we're gonna talk about some mic types, some kind of like acoustic consideration, things like that. If you have a jam session you want to record, or if you just have a home studio, if you're wondering if you can do high quality recordings at your house. And spoiler alert, the answer is definitely yes. Don't listen to people who tell you can't do it. Yeah, it's always better to go to a studio, but you can do it, right? So it's like, is football more fun to play in a stadium? Yes. Can you play it in your backyard? Yeah. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And then streaming brings like kind of its own complications because streaming is, you know, first of all, like I think when we started with Twitch, I kind of realized a lot of stuff about Twitch and a lot of software surrounding Twitch and a lot of the help I got online regarding Twitch was very much for gamers. Like Twitch is a streaming platform, but gamers are basically the biggest users of it. So it's hard when you get into like pro grade audio. A lot of those, like a lot of the equipment you may need don't exist, but people have obviously found ways around that, which with some research I found out, and I'm going to tell you guys about it. We're going to break down the whole situation into three stages for the audio. For the video, Sandra will one day do it, and like, you know, we got a lot of upgrading to do for the video. For the audio, there's really three stages. So the first stage is what happens in your room, right? So that includes mics, miking techniques, how many channels do you have, kind of your audio interface or recorder, what it is, and then how to kind of get the best sound going into the box, so to speak, the analog side of things. And then obviously you convert from analog to digital, you go inside the box and inside a computer, and there's some stuff you got to do. And the third stage is then broadcasting it, because we, you know, normally things either stay in the box until they're mixed and mastered, and then, you know, people download them and listen to them with speakers or headphones, or it's like a live situations where they go to a PA system. We're just broadcasting this audio live. So basically, all these three stages kind of happen at the same time. So let's just start with stage one. So before we do everything that goes in the box, all the miking, all those things. So let me show you guys this little picture here. I'll do a little thing like this. I'll do a thing like that. Let's go. Okay. So you know, the picture is here. I can show them like this. So sound disperses using the inverse, or sorry, the root mean square law. Some people call it the inverse square law. So is the picture really clear? Is the image clear enough?
It's okay, yes, it's
So, like, the image is like a diagram of how sound travels from its source. So, if you can see at 6 meters away from the sound source versus 6 meters away from the sound source, you'll see that so as sound travels, it travels in every direction, and the intensity based on distance is the reverse of the square of the distance. So, in simple terms, if you're hearing a certain amount of sound 10 centimeters away from the source of the sound, you would think that if you go 20 centimeters, it'll be half as loud. But in reality, it's actually 4 times as quiet, right? So basically, the formula goes, if your distance is x and you make the distance 2x, then your sound will be 1 over 2 squared quieter, right? So again, like in practical terms, if you ever played a live show, you would know that, you know, you get your like monitor mix and you're playing. So maybe you ask for your bass, like in your mix, if you're the bass player, and some of the drums, the drummer may not ask for the singer, etc., etc. But what you would notice is like if you move even slightly, you lose a lot of the sound. Like you're hearing your bass pretty clear here, you go here and it's gone. And yeah, that's because sound disperses at a very, so like when a sound comes from my mouth, it's very loud here. It's way quieter here, but spread over a bigger kind of area, right? And it goes from there. So what does it mean for us? What it means for us is, say I'm miking an amp, right? So if I put a microphone 10 centimeters away from the amp, and the performer is standing 30 centimeters away from the amp, they are hearing the sound, like the mic is hearing the sound at one intensity and the performer is hearing it at 1/9 of that intensity. So the problem becomes, if we make the amp loud enough that the performer can hear it, then it's too loud for the mic. The mic will just distort. And if we get the mic away, or if we make the sound loud enough for the mic, it may be too quiet for the performer. And this is the problem we always have, where we gotta compromise. And what you gotta compromise about is, people all gotta play more quietly, and that way they'll hear each other. And because our rooms aren't treated, when you play with lower dynamics, it just sounds better. We're not, if you're on stage, if you're Metallica, you can fucking bash those cymbals. Here, if I do it, it will not sound good, right? And I just use my hands, and still, like, you gotta keep it quiet. And you obviously calibrate over the loudest acoustic instrument, because, and in our case, that's the drums, right? Because the volume that you get out of a drums is non-negotiable. And then you have to plan everything around that. So if the drummer's going as loud as they want, and our amps are loud as fuck, then that's clearly a problem, that we can't solve, really. What ideal people do, like in ideal situations, everybody has headphone mixes, which we'll get to. So anyway, remember this law whenever you have to listen to whatever it is you're recording. You have to consider the fact that if you're near miking things, the volume is way more intense in front of, like, for your mic than it is for your ears. And if you move around, very little moving away can cause a dramatic decrease in volume intensity. Okay? So I know I said I won't get too nerdy, and then I got really nerdy, but whatever. Anyway, we'll wrap back to this subject in a second. So let's talk about some mic types. So in a studio versus like a live situation, you gotta make a lot of kind of different decisions as to what mic you use. Because when you're in a studio, usually what happens is, for example, if they got, like a singer coming in, the singer gets in the room, all the instruments have already been recorded, or at least a guide track is there. So the singer can use a really powerful mic, like the one I'm using now, that does pick up not only the source of their voice, but also like everything around in the studio. But there's nothing in the studio, so that doesn't cause a problem. So, but you may notice, if you go to shows, even to like really high-end bands, they're not using like their best studio mics to sing. They're using other mics, which we call dynamic mics, because they don't pick up all the other sounds that are happening around them, right? Because if the singer's mic is picking up their voice, but also all the instruments, but also the monitor mix they're getting, and the sound of the crowd, and that's all going to speakers and coming back into the mic, that creates a feedback loop, and you don't want to hear what that sounds like. So in a live situation, you use different mics than mics in the studio. So there are basically kind of there are many types of microphones, but we'll just focus on three of those. So you have your condenser mics. This is a condenser mic. This is the Audio Technica AT2020, which is it's a cheap Omni mic, it's a cheap condenser mic, but it's very good for its price. And Coolum bought this as kind of like his starter pack, as he was starting as a musician. He's a singer. So this mic has what we call a cardioid pattern, which means it does pick up everything from around. You may have noticed earlier we heard like the sound of, like people are cooking in the kitchen, so we hear a little bit of that. Nova, say something.
Say something.
Yeah, we hear Nova. You may have noticed if you have keen ears that we heard her in a little bit of like we heard her differently from how we heard me. Because we heard Nova kind of from a distance, which she is, but we also heard her like the spaciousness of her voice. Whereas you're hearing my voice in a very direct way. I'm closer to the mic, but I'm also facing the front of the mic rather than the back of the mic. Are we still on the screen? The
Both
screen
you,
is being
we
shown,
see
right?
the screen and you.
Yeah. So these are some really common mic patterns. And this mic has a cardioid pattern. So it kind of looks like a butt, right? So what this is showing is the center is where the microphone is placed, right? And this is a theoretical, kind of spherical representation of the space around the mic. So when 12 o'clock is the front of the mic and 6 o'clock is the absolute back of the mic. So what you see from this is the mic is picking up the maximum amount of sound from its front, and it kind of tapers off as you get some angle. So if I kind of go here, you'll start hearing that my voice is becoming less and less direct until I kind of get to this part. I'm still being picked up, and I'm being picked up the least amount from the back. Now, obviously, even when I'm in the back, my sound is hitting the wall, hitting the mic. Long story. So these mics are great for studio because they get more of like the character of your sound. They get the character of the room, and for things like voice acoustic instruments, you do want that. You don't want to hear them as if they're in the ether of space, right? So yeah, you hear the kitchen, for example. So in a live situation where multiple instruments are being played, you want to use as few of these as possible. Um, we unfortunately have to use quite a few of them, and there is a lot of bleed, which again is part of our compromise. We deal with that, and that's a big thing. Deal with shit. Like don't wait until you have the perfect setup. Just fucking deal with shit and get your art out there, man. Or whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna switch scenes to my big face because I'm going to show you some other mics. So yeah, so this was the AT2020. It's a type of condenser mic. Other types of condenser mics that we have, one of them is the NTG3 by Rode. This is like a fantastic mic. It's called a shotgun mic. So it is a condenser mic, but they have what we call like a super or a hypercardioid polar pattern, which let me quickly show you guys that as well. So yeah, so a shotgun mic is kind of like it's picking up the maximum amount in the front. It does pick up some in the back. It does pick up some from the side, but like the good thing about it is that you can. It's really like you can point it at a thing. So this is what like boom operators would use or voiceover for animation uses this a lot, and they can really point it at a person or at whatever sound source, and that's good. Oh, let me go back to so anyway, remember this pattern because I'm gonna switch to myself. So yeah, like as a boom up, right, you have the mic like pointed at this direction. So let's say if there's some shit going on over here, like
Director.
yeah, the director saying stuff, even like cameras, like good cameras are noisy. It kind of gets rid of those. So while it does pick up things from all around the room, it picks up the most amount from the front. So if you place it well, you can really use it for a lot of things. We use it for our drum overheads. So we got two of them. We have two of them, and we have this thing, which is a stereo bar. And stereo bars are great. They're actually, let me bring the camera a little closer, Nova, for this second. So I don't know if you can see, there are like little indentations here that clearly outline kind of the angle of these two things. Yeah, show them. Right. So if you want to use ORTF or XY miking techniques, which we'll get to, you can use one of these to get a really precise distance or like a really precise placement for your mics. So we use one of these and two of these, which we rented from Vancouver Film School. Again, they cost 1,000 each. This thing costs like fucking, $50 or whatever. Yeah, 1,000 each, which clearly we can't afford yet, unless you donate to us. Please donate. Cheers. I got a drink. I don't get a lot of days off, but when I do, I try to make it a big nightmare and stream like a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So we use any questions come in yet?
No, nothing.
Cool.
Sophia,
Fucking send me some questions.
Sophia commented about nothing. I asked her if she sold her bed, and she said no. That's it.
She sold her bed?
She's selling her bed.
Oh. Cool. Good luck. Hey, if anybody wants to buy a bed and lives in Vancouver, look no further. So these are our overhead mics. So they don't pick up a crazy amount from what's going on around it, or basically like the front is so powerful that whatever happens on the sides is negligible. You can mix those out, right? Very, very good signal to noise ratio can be achieved if you point this right. And since I brought up signal to noise ratio, I'll talk about it a little bit. Signal to noise ratio is basically just what it sounds like how much of the how loud is the sound you want to record and how loud is the sound you don't want to record. So in digital audio, that could be straight up noise from electricity and stuff, right? Like electricity will if you got based on the country you live in, there's usually a hum at 60 hertz like in Canada, or at 50 hertz like in Europe, that can be audible through recordings because of electricity and electromagnetic fields. That's noise. But also, everything, so in a live context, everything you don't want to record with a mic is noise. So if I'm getting the overhead, but I don't want it to pick up any piano, for that mic, piano is our noise. If my voice right now is the voice we intend to record, the thing happening in the kitchen is the noise. So noise doesn't mean necessarily digital noise from bad cables and stuff. Noise just means sound that you're not intending to record, but sound travels through the air, so you may record that. So shotgun mics are great for having a pretty wide signal to noise ratio. So we can point the mic to the drums here and be quite comfortable with the small amount of the bass and the piano that it picks up. So conversely, it's also good for piano because piano may not be the loudest instruments, but it is acoustic. And if you just point these to your piano, it'll sound good. We'll also do some of these techniques if there's time and try to kind of like just, for you guys to hear what it sounds like. I don't know if you can see this. We're using the F8 Zoom recorder, which can also be used as an interface for our recordings. We'll get to this bad boy. So the second type of mics is a condenser mic. And condenser mics come in two forms. So condenser mics, I fucked up. Dynamic mics is the other type. This is condenser. That's condenser, and then we have dynamic mics. So dynamic mics capture sound not by having like a large diaphragm like a condenser mic, but they use electromagnetic fields. So they kind of work similar to a guitar pickup. There are these like copper wound metal rods inside a dynamic microphone. So when sound travels towards it, it disrupts those electromagnetic fields, which are then recorded. Is there a question? You go.
Yes. What are those things you have on your head covering your ears?
Oh, who asked that?
Sophia.
That's those are headphones. I kind of like to hear my signal so I can make sure I'm not like, talking like this, and you guys don't hear what I'm talking about. I'm just like perusing things. So those are headphones Sophia used, Smarty Pants.
What's the name? She said. Yeah.
Oh, what's the name? Oh, these are Audio Technica ATH-M50Xs, which they're good. I bought them on sale for like 160 Canadian dollars. I will say though, there's a lot of bleed, so I use these for ADR, and I just realized you can kind of hear the guide track. I'm just really deaf, so during VFS times, I'd be like mixing my shit, like my impact sounds, and then realizing that like everybody around me can hear me, and like to a disturbing degree, not just like a little bit. So they have a lot of bleed, and I've seen like other people's exact model of headphones not have as much bleed. So a little bit of it is again because I crank my headphones because I'm really deaf. But yeah, if bleed is a concern, don't use these. Get those freaking Yamaha something somethings. I don't get paid enough to learn the model names of headphones. They're stupid. Just Yamaha headphones. Those are great. Yeah, so dynamics. So yeah, dynamic mics use electromagnetism to get the sound. So the plus side of things is that dynamic mics are much more directional, and the negative side is that they are not as warm sounding as condenser mics, right? So again, in a studio situation, you use condenser mics more often because they sound better. You use dynamic mics for drums because there's a lot of parts to it. But for most things, you use a condenser mic, and in live situations, you use as many dynamic mics as you can. Also for amps and stuff, right? In the studio, there's also sometimes live recordings done, and people have become accustomed to a lot of like the sound of a lot of dynamic mics. So dynamic mics are also cheaper, which is great. So let me show you a couple of those. This is probably the most famous dynamic microphone, but also arguably the most famous microphone in the world because they're cheap, super versatile, durable, cheap. Did I mention cheap? And they're just great. So this is a Shure SM57. Again, if you've ever been in a studio, somebody's thrown that name around. It's a really great mic. They're good for recording single cymbals, so it's a very common like hi-hat placement. Could you move the camera to this side for a sec?
For what? For drums?
Drums, yeah. So SM57s are great for kind of getting single cymbals if you want to get like a hi-hat or something extra for the drummer. They're great. They are also used for snares. So I've seen people put one like under the snare to get like the snare bottom, and then one on top. That's very common. And they're used for good old amps. So let's go here. Maybe you'll hear me a little bit roomy, and you learn what condenser mics sound like from a distance. So we use it for amps here. So what I would do is I have a stand here, and I come in and I get right up to my mic. I'm looking for. So a trick that I'll show you guys is when you mic an amp, you gotta get right up to the fucking thing, like to the speaker part of the amp, which is sometimes hard to see. So a trick I picked up is, let me turn this mic around at least. So a trick that I picked up is that you use your phone flashlight, because these are kind of like, these are grates and they're transparent. So you flash a light through and you'll see where the speaker is. Do you have your phone on you? Let me just show them. Give me your phone light.
Oh, it's off. Alright.
How do you, where do you, alright. So yeah, just a phone flashlight, and when I shine it through, I don't know if you guys can see,
Yeah, it's.
but yeah, you can see where the speaker is, and you gotta get like right up to it, man. Some people like the sound if it's slightly off axis. Some people use the miking technique as like a way of controlling the tone, which is great for studio situations, but for most live situations, you just get right up in there, man. Like slightly, you don't want it to touch exactly, but basically, I would say there's about one kind of pinky knuckle, about 1 centimeter or half an inch between the grates of the amp and the mic. So you can use it for miking amps, and these have a cardioid pattern, allegedly. But if you ask me, they don't. Oh, you can bring the thing back.
I have like 3 jobs.
Yeah. Sorry, we're very understaffed today. Basically, Nova is our moderator and our camera operator and our lights grip and many other things because everybody else, I don't know, Kulan's busy with his final project. Adam is, I don't know where the fuck Adam is. And Sandra is also making a film called Alienated. Actually, I made the music for it, so when it comes out, maybe we'll do like a screening of it on a Twitch stream or something. It's a pretty cool film, man. Anyway, so yeah, SM57 is your friend. SM57s are really cheap, so let's real quick see how much they cost. I put some links in here, but I don't think I added that as a link. So let's just real quick look up SM57 Shure.
What?
Yeah, man, like $110, you know, and you got a pretty versatile mic. Every studio I've been to has like 5 or 6 of these. They're super useful for many things, and also for a lot of like kind of acoustic and, for the lack of a better term, like ethnic instruments are great um, to record with an SM57. Let me get back to my face. Yeah, so yeah, the SM57, you know, I've recorded like the Turkish kanun with it, which is kind of like a dulcimer type instrument, like a lot of strings on a wooden board, so you just put one on top of it. There are kind of like dedicated brass microphones, but this works for brass in a pinch for sure, for trumpets, things like that. Um, yeah, amps, snares, to an extent, kick, like a kick front mic. I've seen this be used for. I've seen it used on, yeah, Kanuns. I've seen it used for strings, but again, there are way better mics for strings, but in a pinch. Any kind of like small percussion, this can do a great job of. And again, like the great thing about these is that it gets the sound on the front, it picks up almost nothing in the back, and from the sides, very little as well. So, again, with the right placement, you can have a very isolated sound from this. Maybe a little later in the stream, we'll like actually like plug some things in, and you'll see that when I put it up on the guitar amp, it picks it up pretty well without picking up almost anything of anything else. Again, you can't have zero bleed in a non-treated space, blah blah blah. So that's one. And then it's kind of like chubbier Afro cousin SM58 is essentially the same mic if you open both of them up, as far as I know. Um, you know, sound goes in here. There's like a little coil in here that picks up disruptions in the electromagnetic field. So yeah, they're essentially the same except for this top part, and this top part is like a grill for singers. This is just kind of like bigger, easier to sing into, easier to see at night. And yeah, again, fucking any stand-up comedy you watch, they're using this, or maybe they're using the wireless version of the SM58, which is called like SM something something. Uh, like rappers have used this even in the studio, so uh, like even in like Michael Jackson albums, like in no fucking expenses spared albums where they have like millions of dollars worth of equipment and literally all the time in the world to record. Sometimes this is all you need. Is there a question?
Click Boy says, I tried to record underwater with a Zoom H4. It doesn't work anymore.
Who's asking this?
Click Boy, I don't know.
These are all very trolly questions. Like, yeah, are you out of your mind? What the fuck, man? The H4. So, for people who don't know, the H4 is a portable recorder, but it has like pretty high quality, like a really good bang for buck kind of portable recorder. We have one lying around somewhere, unless fucking Adam took it home or whatever. But yeah, I got one of these. I got a portable recorder from Zoom, which is an Ambisonics recorder. But yeah, like these mics, yeah, they can't get wet. Are you out of your mind? What are you talking about? Yeah. There are microphones that record underwater. They're called aquaphones. And they pick up vibrations, which is arguably in the underwater sense not only sound. But yeah, man, you can't. I mean, I hope you're trolling, because if you actually thought you can just go underwater with that thing, I mean, what can I tell you, buddy? Do don't. I mean, it's an electronic piece of equipment. You can't use. I guess it doesn't go without saying that don't dunk these underwater. Um, we actually, I have used an aquaphone. They're just not great. The technology is not fully there yet, let's just say, for microphones to work underwater. But aquaphones are basically waterproof contact mics, so they can pick up vibrations and they're sealed in a way that it doesn't fuck up the electronics. But yeah, it's not an amazing system. So a lot of the sounds of underwater shit you hear in films are designed. Yeah, don't use your mics underwater, people. So yeah, that gets us to SM58. So SM58 again, like there are many microphones that are way better for recording vocals. Even something like this, which again the AT2020 costs about $150. I'm saying these in US dollar amounts, even though we're in Canada, just because it's like a better kind of global reference for prices. So yeah, about 150 for this one, about 110 for this one. But even this one is like a much better microphone to use for vocals in a studio. But in the live situation, so imagine our singer is standing like 40 centimeters away from drums, and drums are 10 times louder than the human voice, right? So you want a microphone that isolates the sound really well. And I know I'm basically preaching something that we've known not to do a lot of times, which is we used one of these for recording vocals for a long time, but that's also because we're not monitoring the vocals. We're kind of hoping our singers can self monitor, which is a big compromise that needs to be addressed soon. But yeah, this mic is a very standard mic. And again, like SM58s, I think are $90. You can find, we're all friends here. You can find some like much cheaper Chinese knockoffs of these, which are pretty unrecognized, like pretty identical. But again, like if this is something you hope to be doing for life, definitely make that extra investment. Otherwise, just yeah, pick up a few of the Chinese ones. Like for $150, you can get five of these, and you're in business with your amps, your vocals, a lot of instruments, right? Oh, I want some weed too. And we're in Canada, so weed is legal. So you're about to be hit with a cloud of smoke. Yeah, let's take a weed smoke break. Also, I don't know, maybe questions. Should we do questions in like stages?
Say
Like
hi to
hold the
Roberto,
quiz.
please.
Roberto, I love you, the fella.
The fella.
The fella.
The
This is-
fella. Yeah.
This is for you, Roberto.
This is not good enough.
Yeah, it's like.
We gotta-
Sorry, we gotta repack.
Oh, okay. You know, and this is a good. I don't want to stray too far from too many subjects. Smoke is not great for audio equipment. I allow weed smoke just cause whatever. Definitely don't let people smoke around your equipment. It can, it's just not good. And also, yeah, just like keep a pretty. I don't know, man. Like, it took me a long time to arrive at this conclusion, but working in clean environments is more productive. And that goes for like clutter and shit. But also, just like, rename your projects well. Just do that, like, go that extra mile to be really organized. So you don't, if you abandon a project and you come back to it, you know where to find it. Don't clutter up the shit and then you're like looking through a whole house to find a little converter. Like, have a compartmentalized space, and it really pays off. And yeah, smoking is not great. Question? All right, let's go.
How do you call the thing that protects the mic capsules? Ask 607.
Oh, that's Alexis. I think these are called grills. If you mean this part, yeah. Let me
Oh,
get
hi,
it up.
Alex. I didn't know that's your nickname.
Alexis, I love you. I miss you. Yeah. So this part is called a grill. So is the same thing like on amplifiers or speakers. This one's pretty dented, and then there's like a layer of kind of like transparent foam in there as well. Yeah, as far as I know, they're just called like grills. And yeah, like as Alexis said, it guards the thing from a fall, like people do mic drops and shit. Singers are like some of the worst people for microphones, which is ironic because they are some of the people you have to keep like in the closest proximity to mics. So, copying the mic, that's just fucking dumb, man. Like, you shouldn't cop the mic. We should actually plug this in and I'll show you guys what it does to the sound when you cop a mic. It's just, yeah, man. It's just this new thing. I don't know if, like, metalcore came up with it or rappers or, like, people do it in music videos where it's fine to do because the sound is pre-recorded. But then I've seen people do this in live situations and it's just like SMH, man. So yeah, let's do a little test with this. All right, I went to channel 7. Hello, 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 hello. All right, I'm gonna turn off the other mic. Wait a second. Let's hold this question for a second. So yeah, so now I turned this mic off, and now I'm just using this mic. So first, kind of notice that when I move away from it, you almost don't hear me, and then when I get close to it, you hear me pretty loud and clear. So that's one of the best things about this mic. But also, yeah, like don't cup the mic because when you cup the mic, you are creating resonant frequencies. So there's this like low end part of my voice that's really loud now. You're changing the way your voice is going into the mic. And it's just, yeah, man, it disrupts the way the mic works. Like, what do you want me to tell you? And people say, oh, well, like with the metalcore, this is the sound we're going for. If this is the sound you're going for, fucking record it clean and then use EQ. Don't use a hand EQ technique, okay? It's really dumb. I really fucking. This is a pet peeve of every, like, hold the mic from here. If you saw, like, freaking Jonathan Davis from Korn do this in a video, I assure you when he was recording it, people yelled at him for doing that. So, yeah, this is the famous sound of SM58. Very directional again, Even distance makes quite a significant change to how much the sound is picked up. So it's good because singers would sing something and then move away and go. And when the singer moves away, you don't want whatever is behind the singer to then be really loud. So that's why these mics in live situations are perfect. Perfect for singers, not great for amps, unfortunately. Not terrible. If you only have one of these and you want to mic an amp, by all means go for it. Like I've seen shootouts of 57 versus 58. 58 is not great for low end because it's designed to kind of work with the voice, but it's not bad. In a pinch, use it. Anyway, I'm gonna move to the first mic again, and I am going to take a weed break before I take this question. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron, everybody.
Your SM58 just was on the left, I think.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, I think so.
Whoopsie daisies. Yes, you're right.
Sorry, I didn't listen.
Nah, it's okay.
Okay, while you're doing that, while you're smoking, you're smoking? Smoke, yeah.
Yeah.
People ask you, would you throw in a couple of your stand-up jokes?
You know, it's. I'm really weird about my stand up in that I don't like to do the same jokes again and again, so I gotta like come up with jokes. But if I thought of something funny, I will say it. And also, like, I don't know, I always thought just like when I say stuff, the humor comes in sometimes. So I don't fucking know. Yeah, I'll throw a joke in. Fuck, man. Why? It's okay. We're not in surgery. Yeah, I'll think on jokes. Like if I think of a good joke, I'll definitely do it. What's the deal with condenser mics?
3 questions.
All right, 3 questions. Let's hear these 3 questions.
First, Xerenify asks, are dynamic mics more dynamic than condensers?
That's a great question. So the answer is complicated because, okay, so what I like to do is think of each microphone as its own kind of like instrument in a way. So yes, the dynamics of the microphone itself are higher in that, let me show you one more time. So, let's do a quick comparison. Okay. So right now we're on this mic. This mic is turned off. So as I move away from the mic, you are hearing quite a significant difference between volume, right? So that means the dynamics of the mic itself, i.e., how much this mic picks up its surroundings based on my position, whether it's like going away from it but keeping it on axis or just moving off axis slightly, it's pretty significant even at a really short distance. By comparison, if I move on to this mic, you can see that like slight movements of the head or me like going back and forward a little bit doesn't really affect the volume of the recording so much. It, obviously the frequency content of my voice changes as I move my head or I move back and forth. But the amount of sound picked up is pretty like negligible compared to these. So yeah, the dynamic as in the difference between how much sound it picks up at its like closest point versus the longer point, the dynamics are more dynamic. But in terms of how they respond to dynamic differences, that's kind of a debatable issue because, okay, like if you have a violin can play like whisper thin sounds and it can play really loud sounds. And also the sound of a violin comes from various places. The wood makes a little bit of sound, the strings make some of the sound, the bow hitting the strings make a part of the sound. So if you use a dynamic mic for an acoustic instrument like that, where the sound comes from a lot of different sources, you may not get those dynamic nuances of the sound as well as if you use one of these. In reality, you got to use a couple of mics so you can definitely get all the sound out of it. So yeah, the way they call them, the reason they call them dynamic is like versus condensers. Condenser mics have like this like condenser inside them, right? That sound hits it, it moves, and that's how you get the sound. It's kind of like the opposite of a speaker. A speaker hears, like, receives a signal and then moves its speakers based on that. These do the reverse of that. They hear sounds, they move it, and then that is changed into electric energy. Whereas this is electromagnetic energy that is converted into zeros and ones and digital sound. I'm kind of going through mic types, and then I'll do a little bit about like how sound works, like how um, basically audio that you hear with your ears go through a microphone, goes through electric cables, becomes zeros and ones, and comes out. We'll talk about that. So yeah, those were a couple of dynamic mics. Another type of dynamic mics is the ribbon mic, which we have one in the form of MD421. But again, Adam like took all his shit, cause I don't know why the fuck he keeps taking his stuff. Or is it there? Can you check
Which one?
the mic he uses for the percussion, the MD421? If not, I'll just look it up. Yeah, it's probably not there. All right.
Oh, no, that's not it.
All right. I'll just quickly do an online search. So yeah, the ribbon mics basically are built differently, but they're essentially also using electromagnetism. They are just like, instead of coils wrapped around like copper coils wrapped around a metal rod. These use like an aluminum rod, like a ribbon, like it's a really thin ribbon that basically is held together from two sides, and the vibrations, or yeah, the disruptions in the electromagnetic is translated through this thin like sheet of aluminum. Is it visible? Yeah. So this MD421, I should probably kill my reading list just so people I don't know, whatever, man. I watch Frankie Boyle, I look at shit, it's fine, I have no shame. Yeah, so the Sennheiser MD421 is a mic we have here, which is a dynamic ribbon type microphone. And yeah, like, as you can see, they look really different. Ribbons and dynamics, application wise, they're not so different. So the MD421 can definitely be used on singers. And I mean, this is a $400 mic. I'll get to more questions. So this is a $400 mic, so don't expect the SM58 or 57 to compete with that in terms of sound quality. They're just really solid, cheap mics, and this is like a higher end mic. The most common use of this that I've seen in studios is for toms. So if a drummer has like 3 toms, they would put one of these on each tom drum. So it's also good for like little percussion pieces, darbuka, a djembe, all kinds of like African and Middle Eastern drums like the daf, tombak, all of those things can be recorded pretty well with the MD421. You can do vocals with it. They're really good for like choir. But again, they're the type of mic where distance causes a dramatic decrease in volume. So whatever it is, they're good for sound sources that are stationary. So drums, or like a musician or an instrument that doesn't move too much, this is a solid mic to use on it. But if it's kind of a dynamic performance, if it's a choir where people are far away, if it's any instrument like that, this is not ideal. But yeah, a very solid mic for like percussion, for voice, even for amps. Like, I've seen people, like, a really common way of recording metal drums is you basically put a pretty like medium sized amp, like maybe not a practice amp, but just like 1 pip larger than a practice amp, and you record it with a SM57 and an MD421. And the MD421 is a little brighter, So you like blend the two signals in a way that kind of when you go towards the MD41, it's a little bit of a brighter signal, meaning more high end. And then when you go the other way, it's like a low end signal. That's a pretty common application as well. So yeah, amps again, really versatile mic, the MD421, which I wish was here today. I will like download this stream and kind of try to also condense it into a shorter video for people who aren't into streams, or I'm from the Middle East. All my friends are like, "Yo, we can't watch your stream. The internet here is not fast enough." So for those kinds of peeps, this video will hopefully come in a condensed form as well. So I will do kind of a sound of that as well. So, and then the last dynamic mic we got is the AKG D112, and this is a pretty nice dynamic mic. It's slightly larger, like its diaphragm is slightly larger. I wish we could open this up. I mean, we can, but I don't want to. But basically, you will see a very similar mechanism inside this, just slightly bigger. And this mic is a biased mic, meaning that it shows a bias towards one part of the frequency range versus another. So these are good low end mics. They pick up the low end pretty well, even better than mics that claim to capture, like, to have a very flat kind of response or frequency response, which means like they say that they record, 3000 hertz as well as 30 hertz. But in reality, most of them are pretty flawed for low end recording, and this mic isn't. This mic is really good for low end, so it's literally the kick drum. I mean, I know people use other mics for kicks, or some people use multiple mics, but you'll be hard pressed to find a studio that doesn't have one of these and doesn't use them whenever they record a kick drum. It's also good for the bass amp. It doesn't. I mean, bass is a much more full tone. Like bass overtones can actually extend pretty much to 3 to 5,000 hertz. If you got a particularly like jangly bass, or if you do slaps, or if you use fuzz, it can go up to 10K, like with overtones and stuff. So it's not an ideal bass amp mic, but again, remember, kids, nothing is ideal here. For beginner, like to start with, we only have 8 channels. We have to record what is sometimes 9 to 10 musicians with 8 channels. Yeah.
Well, you just were talking about drums and bass and stuff. There's a person asking, how do you make drums sound so good? So could you like
Okay.
go through that?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how we make the drums sound good, but okay, yeah, all right. I was gonna get to this part anyway, so let's just go into how we mic drums. So the ideal way to mic drums is to get, let's move towards the drum. Like, let's get the drum in the shot. Actually, give us a second. Who's asking this question?
Xerenify.
Cool. Whoever it is, they ask good questions.
Yes, twice. Okay, how do you want me to put it?
Let's maybe get this screen out of the way
Yeah,
and just.
but I can't see now what's up.
Oh,
Like this is okay?
yeah, that's fine. Okay. So maybe let me grab the, well, see, now this is where we use the SM58, so I can be pretty mobile as I talk. Okay, here we go. Check. Awesome. All right, so now I can be pretty mobile as I walk you guys through the drum action. So when you want to record drums, like in a studio situation, you basically mic everything, right? The problem with the drum is what we were just talking about. The sound of the drum doesn't come from one place, like in the case of a guitar amp. It comes from many places, right? So the kick is down there. The drums are kind of like all around, and the cymbals are all around. And this is a pretty small like drum set. There are much bigger drum sets that are like, they can, like, I've seen drum sets cover like 9 meters squared or something, right? So I have a bunch of different sounds coming from a bunch of different spaces at a very different volumes and frequency content. So that's all kind of challenges for the recording. So if you think about it, think of the sound of a hi-hat. It's a very high-end sound. It's very metallic, obviously. And it's very loud compared to like a tom, right? And a tom is very tom has a low endy sound. It may not be perceived as loudly as a hi-hat, but it can be pretty loud. And then you have like the crash. A crash is a really big instrument. We have, again, because we have neighbors and we don't have acoustic treatment, we have to put like t-shirts and stuff. We have to muffle our drums. But yeah, so the best thing to do for drums is to record everything separately. So go, record the kick. Some people record the kick from back there to get its low end. And they also mic the beater side of the kick, which has like a high endy sound. Then they would put like MD421s on each of these. They would have a snare top and snare bottom, and then they would have two overheads that kind of record all the cymbals, because the cymbals are really loud. They don't need to be mic'd individually. And also I think the fear was like back in the day that drummers are just going mental, so there's a mic here and the drummer's just like fucking in the flow of things, and they would hit the mic and then your recording is fucked and then your drums are fucked too. So they just kind of went with overheads, way outside the reach of drummers, and with drummers that have a lot of kind of dynamic use of EQ, or sorry, of the hi-hat. Right, shit like that. They may separately mic the hi-hat. We have a few problems when we want to record mics. Namely, we don't have nearly enough channels to... Can we get the zoom? We don't have enough channels to get the... to get all the mics, because just what I described to you is, again, at the very minimum, you need one mic for the kick, you need one mic for the snare, you need two mics for toms, you need two overheads. That's 6 already, and that's a pretty minimalist kind of mic arrangement for drums. And what we have here is only 8 channels. So if we give only 6 of them to drums, we basically can't mic the singer, we can't mic the... we can't mic... our amps and stuff. We can't mic a lot of things. So we basically only use 2 overheads. And why does it sound so good? The reason is quite simple sometimes. The reason is, let me switch back to my normal mic. The reason is that we use fucking $2,000+ worth of equipment for them. So each of these, the NTG 3 mics, are about $1,000. Sometimes you may find like a matched stereo pair, which is a real big steal, for like a 1,500, and those are great. But yeah, we'll basically use these with one of these, a stereo bar. So you plug these into your mics with the stereo bar. Can you make the camera zoopity?
Make what?
Like, I don't know, make the shot back to how it was.
Oh, yeah, sure. See?
Yeah, so we have this stereo bar. So these 2 mics can go on one mic stand, because we're also limited with mic stands. And then we record like this. So basically there are like indicators on here for angle. So when you're using 2 mics, you want them to be... if you don't want too wide an image, you can use the XY miking technique, which means that you're using kind of like 2 mic in this position. So this kind of stands on top of the drum set, and so this one, like the right side, will get the hi-hat, and the chimes and the tambourine and the crash. The left side will get the tom. Those will be the extremes, and even some of the percussions that sit next to the drummer. And it will get everything in the middle are kind of picked up equally by both mics. So it is a pretty good sound. And again, the reason behind it is that we're using two $1,000 mics, right? If we're using some lesser overheads, it wouldn't sound as good. Any kind of snobby engineer would say that they don't sound amazing. I would love to just kind of have an extra channel to record the kick on its own. But yeah, if you use two good overheads and you place them well, it is a pretty solid setup, just an overhead, right? And I've seen many people, like people use two overheads for at least kind of using the like for a demo. If you're recording a demo, um, it's more than adequate to just use overheads. If you want a lot of detail in your snare, you need to mic that closer. If you want kind of like a really pumping kick, man, that's like dead center of your recording, you need to record that separately. So our kick is a little skewed because again, like it's being picked up by the overheads, but it's being picked up by other mics as well. So it's not perfectly center, but again, compromise is the name of the game for us and any kind of home musician. I read this book called Guerrilla Recording. And that book really changed the way I thought about everything. Like the whole philosophy of the book is like, don't look for high end, don't be these addicts of like the latest and greatest in music and audio technology just to get anything out there. If you master what you already have, you'll work better with that. If I have $100 mic that I know how to use versus getting a $5,000 mic that I don't know how to use and I have to use them right at that moment, I can't learn the 5,000 mic, I'll just use the mic I know because, man, like, yeah, once you know how your shit works, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it that maybe, 1% of the population who are pro engineers will see flaws in. And even those people would be like, cool, man, good job for fucking pumping this out with the equipment that you have, right? So always work with what you got. Don't be don't be like chasing the dragon that is fucking perfect sound and perfect acoustics and perfect isolation and a perfect record. It's not fucking out there, man. I bet whoever mixed like Thriller, I'm using a lot of Michael Jackson examples, Dark Side of the Moon, like Alan Parsons, those people even go, hey man, like we wish we could do some stuff again. We wish we could have a few more days. You always wish you would have a few more days to make things sound better. You always wish you had more mics, more channels, more separation, a bigger room. And that's good to aspire to, but again, work with what you got. And that's the book Gorilla Home Recording or something. Let me Google that, make sure I'm getting the name right.
While you're doing that,
Yeah.
Alexis says he has a good technique to mic drums,
Oh, yeah?
which is just with one or two mics.
Uh huh.
He uses the what's the name?
Oh, these ones?
I think, yeah.
Cool, okay.
The kick and omnidirectional condenser, like in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a really good way of doing it as well. So that gives you a really good recording, and obviously, like I'm assuming you recorded like that, and then maybe like use a reverb or something in post production to kind of give it that width. Um, Another problem we got here is that we want our sound to go right out of here to the computer and then go right out to the world. So I don't have any post time. I want what I hear through the headphone out of this sound card to be the sound I hear or to be the sound that people hear. So we do it. And also, we go 8 in through this sound card and only 2 out to the computer because I saw that we get like 100 milliseconds of latency when we have separate channels that we can process. So I went with only two channels. So I mix in the Zoom and I just send it to the box. But yeah, that's a really good technique, and I will try that technique because last week we, like we made a mistake. We only had one of the NTG3s rented from the school. So we just used one mic and it sounded fine. So I'm definitely gonna give that technique a try. The reason I didn't try it is that I wanted that stereo width to be already baked into the mic by using stereo mics, because I didn't want it to be I didn't want it to be all center, because then our bass will be centered, then like our room is skewed anyway. But I will try that. And cool, man, thanks for the tip. Alexis, for other viewers, went to VFS with me, and I think he's since been working in a music studio back in Mexico, where he's from. So he's one of the best kind of students that came out of VFS during my year, and he also has a lot of programming capabilities. And yeah, so dude, when that guy gives me a tip, I will fucking take that tip. Thank you,
Alexis, you're
Alexis.
the best of the best. I miss you, brother. Come back.
Yeah. And like again, this is one of those things where one part of me goes like, "Oh, we're pretty close to upgrading ourselves to like 12 channels of audio from 8. We're pretty close to like getting one step higher, but also I just want to try different things all the time, cuz what if a technique that I didn't think of, like the technique you just mentioned, is better. So yeah, we'll rent a D112 from school. This one belongs to Adam, so we use it for the bass. But yeah, we'll get another one. We'll see how that sounds. And actually, since we've been using this on the bass amp, and the bass amp is like right under this table that I'm standing behind, so it's close to the kick. It's picking up a little bit of the kick, and that's already like has given us a really nice center. But yeah, man, I'll try that as well. There's some chatter
Chatty.
or whatever, man. Like yeah,
Okay.
people chat.
Okay.
Everybody be aware of that.
David Jeeps asked a question.
Oh yeah, go on.
David Jeep asks, a while ago he did, what's the ideal input level when recording electric guitar through a cab? It's just before the level clips. Is it just
Okay, that's a great question. And okay, this is a very controversial topic, but I will tell you the most popular opinion, and I will tell you my opinion, which only slightly differs from the very popular opinion. But okay, so yeah, people go, and okay, I'll go a little bit backstory. Kind of a few years ago, most recordings were done in 16 bits, which like the bit depth refers to the amount of headroom you have. So how much volume, how much loudness exists between minus infinity and zero where you're clipping in the digital audio realm, right? And 16 bits gives you, you know, about 100, or sorry, about a 90 dB in SPL amounts of headroom. So, kind of old engineers didn't have a lot of headroom to work with. So, they would always go as close up to clipping as they could, because that's how they got the best signal to noise ratio. Now we work with 24 bits. So, usually you have more than enough headroom. So, it's good to stay on the safe side and, be at like minus 10 or something if you're recording in 24 bits for the streams, because we want the stream to be as like light as possible, because our internet system isn't as good. We're using 44.1 kilohertz sample rate, and we're using 16 bits. So that is a consideration, that I would record as hot as possible, like if you're recording on your own. If you're doing 16-bit, even go to like minus 0.2 dB. If you're doing 24 bits, man, like I leave like 3 dB or 5 dB of headroom, because honestly, it like my signal to noise ratio is already pretty good. So one, it's like a complicated question. It's based on the quality of your preamps and all of that. But yeah, as a general guideline, in 24-bit, leave like 3 dB of space. I think it's fine. You don't need, unless it's a really quiet instrument, which your guitar isn't. For 16-bit, get as close to it as you can. And then another consideration is, are you just recording a guitar? If you're just recording the guitar, then yeah, get right up to clipping level. If guitar is part of a live mix, obviously you have to mix it against other things. So here I try to make it so that my guitar is about -18, so that it's because the drums, the vocals, all those things are coming through the same thing. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And so what I said is the popular opinion. And yeah, my opinion again, in 24-bit it doesn't matter. Now there's also 32-bit float, which means even if you clip, it's not a big deal and it can be changed later. So as we're advancing with technology, like, you're becoming less and less concerned with kind of those numbers. You still have to be aware of them. You still have to know what they are, but it just gives you more freedom to be like, hey, when it sounds good, it's good, and you can fix a lot in post. Obviously, don't get into the habit of fixing everything in post. Get a good sound. So yeah, man, I would say at 16-bit, be at like -0.2 dB full scale, and at 24 bits, if your like loudest sound is at -3 dB full scale, and then your average sound, i.e. your RMS, is around -10 in 24 bits, you're more than fine. And try to what I do whenever I mic anything and whenever I'm like doing a recording, I'd record like 12 seconds of nothing. I have the mic turned on, I have the guitar amp turned on, I'm not playing anything, I'm just recording the nothing. And the nothing is all the noise you're usually worrying about. So you'll find out what frequency range your noise is in. Is it really high frequency range? Is it low frequency hum? And also how loud it is. Is it really loud? Is it at a point you have to address? If it's really loud, obviously you need to like crank your preamps more. You have to give yourself more headroom. You have to reduce your noise to signal ratio or increase your signal to noise ratio. Yeah, so record whatever setup you have, record it without playing anything for a while to know what kind of thing you're dealing with at the zero level, right? So because that's your bottom. Minus infinity isn't your bottom because you have an amp turned on. And then you play a little bit, and then okay, if you saw that the quietest part of the signal, i.e. the quietest part of your performance you want to record, is already 20 dBs louder than your noise, great, you got a good amount of headroom. But if you saw that only you have to play loud for the noise to not be an issue, then you got an issue. And then you can look at better preamps, you can look at kind of making your mic go back a little bit, or just, in some cases living with the noise. Also know that like for metal, and I know David Jeep is a metal guy, so I'm kind of tailoring my answer to metal, is a little bit like noise is good for metal, man. So if you have a little noise, it's not the end of the world. So yeah, don't yeah, as hard as you can, I guess, is the popular opinion. And my opinion is be a little safe so you don't clip. Err on the safer side. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, not yet.
How you doing? All right, so we talked about the drums. So yeah, for the drums, we just do 2 stereo. And again, that's like the compromise because we have 8 channels and we have only 8 channels and we have like fucking 10 musicians sometimes. So we got to make some compromises in that area. So I'll tell you guys what we need in an ideal scenario. In an ideal scenario, we need 18 channels of audio here. And again, this is not the ideal as in the best recording possible, but kind of an ideal but still minimal sound setup. So what that is 1 bass, two mics for guitar, one mic for vocals, one mic for percussion. So that's one, two, three, four, five, plus two mics for the piano. That's seven, plus one kick, two snare. That's 10, plus two toms and two overheads. That's 14, plus a stereo mic room. That's 16, plus a stereo out from our electronics, i.e., like the synth and the Chaos Pad pair I have. So that's 18 channels that I need for still a pretty minimal but like standard recording. And we only have 8, so obviously sacrifices have to be made. You guys want to donate to us, we can buy an 18 channel mixer. I am in the market for a couple of these things that I will show you guys. So there's like the cheap side of things is this like Behringer mixer that has 20 channels, so it has more than what we need, and it goes for for $800, and that's for live sound. So you will need to then have an interface to maybe send the stereo out into the computer, but again, you'll have really low latency if you use like a Scarlett interface, and you can also then adapt this for a live situation. So one day we'd like to take these jams on the road somewhat, go to Salt Spring Islands and like jam there, or go to festivals and whatnot. This is a solid investment, but again, this is a mixer for a live concert. So you have your outputs. I hope people are seeing. Is like the screen pretty big enough in there? Yeah. So I hope so the outputs you have are for speaker out. So you do like balanced TRS outputs and go to speakers, and you can give like monitor mixes for people on stage and stuff. For our situation is less than ideal because we do have the digital side of things to worry about. But yeah, for $800 this will solve a lot of your problems, and you can have up to 8 like drum mics and then have 12 to spare. And also don't pay attention to this too much because some of these are not exactly. So we have 12 channels that are XLR slash line in slash instrument, and then you have a couple of RCA ins or double jacks, which we can use our micro and the percussions with those. So that's 14, 16, and then you can have sub mixers and stuff for the drums. Anyway, again, gear is a rabbit hole that you will never get out of if you get in there. On the higher end side of things, there's like these mixers by Behringer. Behringer is great, man. Okay, Behringer is cheap, and people think, oh, if it's cheap, if it costs half as much as an American brand, how can it compete? And I'll tell you how it can compete. Human suffering is how it can compete. So Behringer is a good brand because it's this German dude in the 70s. He went to Japan in the time where like a lot of music tech people were kind of small businesses, and they had like one warehouse in New York or New Jersey or freaking or down south or somewhere around America or in the UK. There were just a couple of people in workshops kind of making this gear. Behringer dude went to Japan. He bought a big ass warehouse, Japan or China, maybe even China. Maybe now he's in China. Got a big warehouse, and he made assembly lines. So if you're making like a small overdrive pedal, if a brand like JHS Pedals is making those, it's a small operation where people are getting paid decent wages, working decent hours, they're making things to order. Whereas Behringer is a fucking mass manufactured, they can pump out 3,000 pedals at the speed that most pedal companies pump out 10 pedals. And the same goes for their mixers, for their audio interfaces, things like that. So it's cheaper because they're a mass manufacturing brand, and other brands aren't as mass manufactured, like Rode even. Zoom is kind of on the mass manufactured side, but again, as far as I know, Behringer is one of the biggest kind of production cycles. So that's why their stuff is cheap. It doesn't mean that they're bad quality. it does mean that they're mass manufactured. It does mean that Behringer is, um, trying to eventually go for a large chunk of the market. And whether you think that's moral or not is up to you. I personally like them. um I am still, 29 years old and been doing this for a long time, still on the side of being the people who don't get paid so much from this. So if I can find a cheap bargain, man, I'm gonna take it. And I love like boutique pedals, and I love kind of like more expensive mics. I dream of having them, but in the meantime, I am going to use Behringer. So yeah, there's this Behringer like 18 or 16 channel. I thought it's 18. Anyway, and this is remote controlled by iPad. It doesn't even need a Wi-Fi router. It has its own router. This is a really solid like purchase. It even comes with cables and stuff and a bag for 700. So it's very mobile. You can control it with an iPad, and it has more channels that I want, and that's like 700 US. So that's a pretty good choice too. What I personally want to go for, because it ticks like all the boxes for me, is the brand new Zoom L12. And this, man, this is new, and this is fucking like an awesome thing. It can do 12 channels, so that's 10 channels that are fully phantom powered, and it's compact because it's using these XLR TRS kind of combo inputs. And then it has two stereo outs, which is RCA or TRS or TS or yeah, TR. And then it does have master like outs to monitors, but also the whole thing is an interface, man. So this thing is a recorder because it has flash disk inside, so you can record out in the field. You can go anywhere and set this thing up. It's battery powered. You have to buy the battery separately, but it can record on board. It can be used as an interface, i.e., I plug this in via USB and I have all these channels. Or I can have stereo, so I can use this down the line to record music as well as these jams. And it's also an interface, and it's also a controller, so I can also use these faders when I'm mixing in the box, so to speak. And it has onboard effects and EQ and phantom power, so you kind of select each of these mics, and then you go to this side over here to the channel strip, and you can use sends. It's got a bunch of effects, so it's very good for our applications. Like this thing came out recently, and it feels like it's like the answer to all my questions, because I was researching this stream and going like, dude, what can we get that we can have perfect sound and then just go stereo in? And this thing is that, man. On board, you can have a great mix. You can give effects. Like one of my problems right now is through these 8 channels go into 12, go into 2 channels inside the machine. And so I have to record the vocals dry. I can't add reverb to the vocals, and that always sounds bad. So if we have one of these, I can give reverb to the vocal and then have a perfect stereo mix that goes to the computer, and that gives me the minimal latency. But I can record every channel individually on the SD card and have that if I want to do shit to it in post. And it's an interface for when I want to use it as an interface when I'm recording. So I can record a drum set straight into like Reaper or Logic and then process it. And yeah, man, this is the answer to all my prayers, because I was researching this going, I'm going to need like $3,000 worth of equipment to make the broadcast happen. And turns out, no, turns out 599, so 600 US. So it's about 750 ish Canadian is what we need. So again, y'all want to donate a couple bucks to us. This is actually something I'm buying. I went to buy this. I saw the 8-string guitar and I bought that, and a like super impulse moment, just because this thing is doing fine so far. But yeah, man, this is like already in my shopping list. Probably next month or something, I'm getting it. Yeah, so these are some of your options. And then we got the Zoom F8, which is actually like a field recorder. Like people use this for field recording, like sound designers when they go out to record like animals and shit. But also it's good for production sound. You can put a bunch of lavs and a bunch of booms and a bunch of room mics and stuff inside it, and then it's portable. So right now it's being powered by this battery. Oh, I gotta switch to my face. So Zoom F8 is this bad boy. It has 8 inputs. It's powered by this battery. I think it's got like about 14 hours of juice in it. So yeah, you go 8 in, and then via USB you can have 8 outs, i.e., you can send 8 different channels to your computer. But if you do that, you'll have like 80 milliseconds of latency, which is very deal withable if you don't have to sync it to picture live. But we have to sync it to picture live. So I'm content with getting just the stereo in and having 11 seconds of latency. So right now, I click my finger, you see it in the camera, 11 milliseconds later you're hearing the snap. I doubt a lot of people will hear that in a way that disrupts their enjoyment of the whole experience. Is there a question, Nova? You were waving at me or no? Is she like, are you listening to Barbie Girl by Aqua?
No, I'm listening to yours.
Ah, okay.
To see if they're synced.
Well, you're watching the stream, so the stream itself is it's coming later than me saying, but then it's about 11 milliseconds between the like this action happening on screen and then my voice going in. Maybe it's now smaller because we're using like my sick ass iMac today. Which, yeah, Mac is its own problems with Twitch. We'll get to that a little bit. We are still so far outside the box, man. So I don't know. Maybe we won't do all 3 stages of audio today because I don't want this to be long and boring. I hope it hasn't been so far. But yeah, maybe we'll just do the box shit. We get in the box and to the broadcast stage another time. And I'll show you this. This is our room mic. This is actually an Ambisonics microphone. So this has 4 microphones in it, even though it's small. So the microphone placements are right and left, but also up and down. So you have your right down front mic, you have your left up front mic, you have your right up back mic, and you have your left down back mic. So these 4 mics kind of all, they are all, their polar patterns are such that they get almost a spherical recording of things. And actually this I should show you guys because it's super cool how this thing works. So most Ambisonics mics are just a mic, and then you have to record them into a recorder, 4 channels. You need 4 inputs. And then you need to kind of monitor them mono or stereo, which is kind of annoying. And then you have to go home and use software to make those Ambisonics recordings. And then you need an Ambisonics compatible microphone to listen to them, right? And they cost like $3,000. I mean, what the fuck, right? But this is a very kind of starter pack Ambisonics for people who just want to dick around with 3D video. So the audio part is like negligible to them. But it's also great for me because I'm a guy who likes to always have a mic with me at all times. So I go out and about. I always have a mic with me. I've been really shitty about it recently, and the universe has made me pay for it. I.e., like there was a day where there were just fucking like 300 trucks protesting downtown Vancouver and honking their horns and would have made it sounded like a fucking symphony, man. And I didn't have my mic with me, so I hate myself forever. But yeah, this is a good thing to have because it has a processor inside. So it's recording the Ambisonics audio, which you can later take home and listen to on an Ambisonics compatible system. But also you can monitor it in stereo or binaural. I'm sorry, I just scratched my balls on live television. Hey man, we all got them. They're always itchy. It's really hot in here. We can open up a couple of windows. Actually, can we open a window, please,
course,
moderator? Or actually, Erin, can you do it so she can moderate?
Alexis says some nerdy stuff there.
What's the nerd? Yeah, throw me the nerdy stuff.
It's when we were talking about latency. He's like, since we don't have monitoring for the artists, maybe there's a software to add latency to the video so you can sync it to the audio latency.
Yeah, that's true for sure. But the software we have on the PC side of things called OBS Streamlabs, it has that feature built in. So I think we have it set at 200 milliseconds or something. So i.e. the audio is 11 seconds, so audio is at like 180. I don't remember the exact numbers, they're on Coolin's laptop. But yeah, so the audio is delayed like 180 milliseconds, and then the video is made late 200 milliseconds, so they are actually in sync. But man, like, I don't know if it's the quality of our internet or what it is, but it's still not perfectly in sync. And especially like when you're receiving data, what I think, and that's like the conspiracy theory I have about Twitch, is that Twitch favors video quality and smoothness over audio quality and smoothness. So if Twitch is seeing your internet connection is less than perfect, it would sacrifice audio first. So I think that causes latency. I don't exactly know, but even despite that, like, compensation thing that we have with OBS Streamlabs software, which is a free open source streaming software, we still have some latency. So I don't know. That's something I gotta figure out, but it's also not been like uber annoying. The best way to do that actually is that if we have a camera right now, we have a really cheap camera. It's called the Logitech C922 webcam or something. What are you guys talking shit about?
Like you're not smoking weed.
Oh, because I don't know, it's ashy.
Sorry.
You want more?
I don't know, it's ashy.
You're
What is it?
ashy.
I just want to show you guys the camera we have. All right, I search for a camera. It goes to fucking because we're on Sweetwater. Sorry about the low end from the mic hitting. Yeah, so we have one of these. Is it on my face right now?
No. Wait, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So we got one of these, which is a really good like starter pack webcam. It looks great. Actually, this is like the $200 version. We have like the $65 version. It was just like a really cheap HD webcam that we could have. The best way is to have a camera that can just take in 2 channels of stereo. And then if we have that, we can have like a main camera that's taking the audio. So the audio is always in sync with that one camera. That's your like main camera. And then you can also like change to other camera views. And that will probably be the best thing to do currently. Or like, yeah, for what we need. Which, yeah, again, it's like in the very near future that we will upgrade from this camera. But yeah, right now, because our camera also is being processed, and yeah, I don't know, maybe it's to do with, because we're all like, when we monitor the stream from our computer, there's no latency. But then whenever I've watched a stream on any device like a phone or a laptop, I've always seen a little bit of sync issues between the two. So yeah, I got to do more research now. But again, like about 11 milliseconds, man, it's fine. Like right now, I'm watching myself say these things. It's fucking way in sync. But I don't know if in the stream it's perfectly in sync. And you can check those with like a little flashlight or something. So you go click, and then try to find out, or just use a good old 2-pop. But yes, so that's an issue. Any other questions or comments?
I think everyone's tired because everyone's leaving.
All right, everybody. Since everybody's leaving, should I even talk about this thing? This is a room mic. Long story short, this thing has a processor inside, so it captures 4 sounds in a spherical motion, gives you a stereo out, which you can monitor live. So this works as our room mic. I just wanted to show you guys one thing, man. This thing is so fucking cool. Because you can monitor it binaural, and you will see in a second and shit your pants, man. How this thing works, Jesus. Okay, so I just set it to binaural, and it's going through 3 and 4. Give me a second. I promise this will be worth it. I know I still haven't smoked weed, but I don't know, man. Like, whatever, man.
You do it later.
No, I want to, but you know, you guys didn't give me any.
We did.
It's
I blame the fake news media. Where is it? This is all ash. All right, whatever. All right, 1 second, fellas. I promise this will be worth it. Okay, so yeah, so this thing has a line out that can output either binaural or stereo sound. So what happens when we do binaural? Cool shit. That's what. Oh no, it just died. Why did you die on me? Ya piece of crap. Alright, check this out, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we live. Okay, the battery is low, so I'll just show you guys quickly. When I'm recording with this, and I'll turn off this one. All right, you know what? We're gonna tease this. If you no, man, let me get my batteries. My batteries are in my room in a charger. Would you be able to get them, please?
Sure.
All right. While she's getting that, and before I show you guys this, I promise you it'll be worth it if you're half as, passionate about this shit as anyone. Really, like, this is cool, man. Binaural basically means that you still have a stereo sound, but based on the direction of the sound as determined by the microphones, there's some like filtering done to each signal, and also some delay added to some signals. So like the back mics, if you turn your head, will be delayed slightly and filtered slightly, and that's what happens when sound is hitting our ears from different angles. So two, yeah. So it's really realistic sounding. It's kind of disorienting because we also have a system built in for, like, if you're in traffic and you tilt your head, you don't start hearing traffic tilted. The background sounds, as far as we're concerned, are kind of kept level, the same way that our inner ear keeps our vision balanced. If you do this, a tilt isn't happening in your view. Your vision is stabilized, but so is your sound. All right, so this thing is on now. So this is on right now, and if I turn it, you can clearly hear it right now. Do you guys fucking hear that? So when I turn it, it becomes stereo. And if I put it upside down, oh, you can definitely hear quite a noticeable difference. So this versus this. Holy shit. I can hear it right now, and I'm like shitting myself. I hope you guys can hear this. It's completely spherical. As I move it, I'm not taking it too far away from my sound, but as different mics are picking this up, it feels like I'm going around your head, and I'm fucking like one of those KGB interrogators. I'm like, where is the money? Did you talk to Vladimir or not? I want answers. You will obey my wishes. Do you see what's happening? So yeah, so that's binaural for you, which is really also disorienting, right? As I'm moving this, and it's just like my sound is fucking moving everywhere, but it's a pretty cool thing. So obviously when I monitor here in my, for our room mics we use this, so we're getting the line out. We're just doing stereo. So we'll just point this at the general direction of the room, and it's very directional. It's very good at kind of capturing a room. I know this is not its intended use, but hey man, I love this thing. I get stereo files and 5.1 BG files from this all the time for film work as well. And if you have a 3D camera, it's awesome. You just put this, there are these mic stands that will get both of them, so the camera goes on top and this goes on the bottom. You can remote control this to record, and dude, you can walk through your 3D video and your sound is 3D as well, follows you around. So for $300 this is an awesome thing. It's very disorienting in the context of music. Maybe one day for shits and giggles, I'll use our mic room as binaural, and then I'll just move it around, and we'll still have like directly sourced, directly mic'd instruments, but also other shit as well. All right, let's wrap this up. I just gotta say that I have so much more to talk about, kind of how to mic each individual. So we talked about miking drums. I do want to, let me move away from the binaural. I do want to kind of show you guys how we mic guitars, how we mic vocals, how we mic pianos, percussions, bass, etc. But I also want to go through how you can do it at home. And that's with like, I'm gonna walk you guys through how to record a jam with one mic. That's what we did for 6 months before the stream begun. I will show you guys how to do it with 2 mics. I'll show you guys how to do it with 3 mics. I'll show you guys how to do it with 4. You get the picture. I'll show you guys from a very modest and minimal setup to quite a sophisticated setup, how there are so many ways you can record your jam. So if you guys jam, fucking record that shit, man. And like, you know, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, like they did their first album using iPhones, 3 iPhones. That's all they used. And I was fucking live. So, man, there's so many ways of getting good sound. And I'm sure in your house and in all your gear, you have shit lying around your house that you can use to stream pretty decent quality audio to the world. And we want this to be kind of like, we want other people to do this shit as well. Like, it'd be nice if Cowman's team from Brazil starts streaming their jams, and then, you know, Alexis, you get some shit going in Mexico, and then there's all these streams from all over the world. People come and jam, and it's a beautiful thing, man. And you know, all that shit. Like, come on, you know, it's really easy. So the things we have to cover is, yeah, I'll show you guys kind of individual miking techniques for instruments and stuff in the next stream. Maybe we'll do this next Sunday.
Sure.
Yeah. Then I will show you guys, yeah, from one mic to multiple mics, how to record it, and then we'll go in the mics, we'll go in the box. I'll show you guys, I'll tell you guys about sample rate and bit depth conversion. I'll show you guys how I go into Reaper and put some like security measures in front of the sound in case something insane happens, like suddenly a loud drummer shows up. And I'm like, you know, smoking weed in the back and I don't notice. I don't want to blow anybody's ears out who is watching us, even though those people are largely imaginary. And I will show you guys, you know, in the box, what happens in the box in my DAW software, in Reaper in my case, but whatever, if you got Pro Tools or what have you. And then I'll show you guys how to stream it, i.e. what happens from there onwards, because it's not as easy as you would think. And as a brain teaser, try to think how I do it, man. It's fucking, it took a lot of research. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If there are any final questions
Yes.
before we stop part 1, let's go through those.
Alexis asks, so you use the H3 as room mic for your jams?
Yes, I do. When we have enough channels, I definitely do that, and I feel like it does help. Also, we've only very recently started miking amps individually. So the H3 used to be our guitar, bass, piano kind of mic at one point, because we just didn't have enough mics. We didn't have enough mic stands and stuff like that. Now we've kind of upgraded to a point where the amps are recorded individually, but still, man, like we had viola players and trumpet players show up last week, and so the mic came in handy. For the piano, we do mic the piano, but it still does get lost in the mix. So it picks up some of that, and just overall, it picks up like the drama of the room, man. So like a lot of shit for people who don't know, you would know, but a lot of drama happens right off camera. So it picks up a little bit of those. It's like me yelling at people, freaking the fuck out, and other people like going and talking shit and all these problems we're having, which is fucking hilarious afterwards. Like after I'm, super frustrated and after I fix it, I'm laughing my ass off thinking about how frustrating that was. So it also records like the room, man, like all the shit that goes on, which is beyond the performance. I kind of like when I was watching this stream in my head before we started doing it, I was like, our house is just fucking hilarious. Just suddenly some dude shows up, nobody really knows them, but I think it's like Coolin's friend. Coolin thinks it's my friend. Then 3 hours in, we're both like, hey, what the fuck is this? Like, just funny shit happens that is also part of the stream. Yeah.
When was that?
Huh?
When was that?
There was this one time ages ago, but also during the streams, remember that dude who just walked in?
Yeah.
So.
That's because I like waved.
You wave. I wave at people all the time. They never come in. There was.
Cute.
I'm cute too. Wow, you gave yourself away. That's my girlfriend, ladies and gentlemen, and she finally gave herself away. It's like, oh, that's because she's cute. So I guess I'm just a piece of shit.
No, you're cute, Adi.
No, it's too late. I got all the evidence I need on camera. You guys saw it. The world saw that. So that was a pretty great. It's great. No, it's great.
Hey, cutie pie.
I'm happy.
Serenify asks you a question again.
Okay, let's go.
He asks nice questions. He asks, how do record to 5.1 with Ambisonic?
Oh, okay. So Ambisonics is not exactly 4 channels of audio. What it is like an algorithm that can spread the sound. So you need to have like Ambisonics technique, and there are different ones like depending on how many speakers you're reproducing the audio from those 4 signals from. So yeah, like ambisonic systems are different, but in short, when I record things on this thing, it has like a flash drive in. So the flash drive in, like I take the flash disk out, I'll go in through my computer, and there's a free software called Zoom Ambisonics. I think it's what Player is what it's called or something. I'll actually show you guys. Let's go to the screen. So I take a recorded sound. Yeah, Zoom Ambisonics Player. And it's this software. It says there's a new update available. Let me bring in an audio. I hope I have some on my computer because I definitely don't have my flash disk converter with me. Get the fuck out of here. I tried to get Soundflower, by the way. Soundflower is... Oh, well, I guess it's working now. Anyway, yeah. I almost went on an unneeded rant. Would you imagine that? All right, let me just find a quick sound here and show you. So if I go to my raw sounds, I don't have any recordings from there. Yeah, so okay, in short, you take the Ambisonics file from here, you go to the Zoom player, and you drag it in. And when you drag it in, man, I really need to have one. It'll be a shame if we don't do this. Let me just see if it works with any old audio. Will you work with this? No, it doesn't. You fucking... Okay, hold on. I'm not giving up on this. Let's do this really quick. Since somebody asked, let's just do this real quick. Meanwhile, Nova, tell people about where our jams are or something.
Our jams you can find on Twitch, on Bad Neighbor Productions. You can also find them on Arya's page on Facebook.
Tell them why we do that.
Why we do 3 streams at the time?
Yes.
Because we hope to get like audience from all sorts of platforms because not all people can.
Oh no, I meant why we put it on my Facebook page rather than on a
because
page.
Facebook is a bitch.
That's right, Facebook. Fuck you. Because Facebook wants you to pay a monthly fee to stream from the page. And I figured Facebook can go fuck itself. Like, seriously, Facebook? Seriously. You're like, you literally know shit more. Like, today I noticed, like, Facebook knows that I'm thinking about taking a vacation. So it started showing me those ads. So it's like, fuck you, man. You're in my head. You want me to pay you for streaming on my page? Fuck you. Okay, so we use my page. Whatever, man. Whatever, man. I'm paying those people. If you guys want to donate to us, we'll eventually fucking pay those people. Or just we'll link our Twitch and, go on Twitch. You don't need an account to watch shit on Twitch. So, big fan of Twitch over here. We only use Facebook because I thought my friends give a shit about me. Evidently, like 10 of you do. So that's cool, man. Cool. Anyway, this shit is ready. Look. So yeah, so I get a file in here. I don't know if you guys will hear the audio out, but it'll be like a stereo file. Are they hearing this? Are they hearing like a field recording of some sort? Is a field recording being heard?
I hear just mic being like.
Okay, let's just do this.
Can you skip it?
Huh? No, hold up. Maybe it's just a quiet recording. I don't hear anything. Anyway, you don't need to hear it so much. I'll just kind of show you what's happened.
That's the jam.
Okay, so it does work. So this is something, right? Okay, so you get these Ambisonics recordings, and then first you choose the type you want. So you said 5.1. So for 5.1, we'll go here, right? And this is basically what happens. Some of the frequency will go to the sub, and then the sound will be dispersed. Otherwise, this is the center, this arrow. This is my left and right. This is my left surround and right surround. So our recording right now, we are hearing it sent to all directions like this. Anything that was in front of us goes center, left surround, right? But I can move the axis of this because this thing has a gyroscope in it, which is it's what's like in your phone. So how your phone knows when you tilted it, right? So this thing has a similar thing. So it knows, it knows when you tilt it, but also it retains that information. It retains this positional information in the recording. So then I can go and manually move it. So I can move it around the vertical axis. So if I recorded like this, right? Let's say I recorded, let's say I set this down like, I set this down on a balcony. The sound I want is down there, but the front of the sound is up here. So I can just kind of slowly roll it along the z-axis of the world, or I can tilt it slightly to the left. Let's say I want all the shit on the left to be center, where okay, this is the 0 degree. Now everything that was center, everything that was left will be in the center when I go this way. Did you see that? So now everything that was left is now in front of me, right? So you kind of dial in the position you want, and you can monitor this in real time as you're doing it. I hope you are hearing this, but I don't think you are hearing that. Again, today we're using a Mac for the first time, so man, it's all kinds of malfunctioning, or there's just all kinds of things I don't have. But I'll do a sequel of this. So yeah, you kind of move it around and you tilt it the way you want, and then you can export it into a 5.1 sound. With 5.1, it does have a big problem, and that big problem is that when you use 5.1, what it does is just it takes, because how will it know what to send to the 0.1 sound? It basically takes the low end out of all the recordings and just buses them into one recording. So I don't know. It sounds a little weird. When I've done the 5-1, it just sounded like it's not the best approach. So what I do is I do a stereo from one angle that I like, just wrap that around 180 around one axis and record my LSRS. So I get my left, right, my LSRS. I can kind of go back to the same place and get a center. Usually you don't, like I use this for BGs, so usually I don't need a center BG, but again, I can kind of wrap something into mono as well, take a mono recording, and then I'll just make original LFE content. So it's not great to use straight 5-1 or use the 5-1 and just get rid of the 0.1 part. But I wish there was a way to make it just not send anything to 5.1, so it'd be 5.0 or just quad. And maybe in the new updates there is some shit like that. But again, super useful for what I use it for. And the downside of using it is like if you're recording something dead on, there's no dead on this thing. No mic is actually in any way more kind of on axis than the rest in this mic. So each mic is its own boss, if that makes sense, and no mic is better than any of the other ones. So even if you go fully on axis with one of these mics, it's always not just fully on axis. So it's not good for on axis recording, it's good for room and environment recording and just working alongside other mics. But great question. I hope that was helpful and not like crazy and me running around and fumbling for shit. And I will show you the Zoom Ambisonics player when I am on a PC. Nova, are there any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Alright, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long. It was like 2.5 hours. And I said maybe 30%. No, I'm just kidding. I said 50% of it. But we did a lot of side talk. Audio is great. You can talk. I was gonna show you guys shit, but my whiteboard, weird stuff happened to the whiteboard. So then I wanted to use a cardboard like shit to use as a whiteboard and draw you guys audio and show you all that shit. But hey man, the sequel is coming. If you guys enjoyed this, if this was shit, just write in the comments now and I'll just fucking peace out.
It was great, I think.
No, yeah, I mean, I don't think it went badly, but like, point is, we do this shit that people show interest in, so show interest in this if you like it, and otherwise, message received, we won't do it. And hey, maybe we won't do the fucking jams anymore with this kind of viewership. Ladies and gentlemen, fucking watch these things. I know you can't like stream it live all the time, but you can watch the highlights. We do like highlights. There's playlists of us doing. Let's do some self promotion for Bad Neighbor Productions. You can tune out. Obviously, right? I don't need to keep saying that you guys need to tune out. Everybody knows. Everybody can get out whatever they want. But if you go visit our YouTube, and I will post links of that. Just Google Bad Neighbor Productions. Our YouTube address is like all kind of weird fucking characters because YouTube doesn't let you pick your own URL until you have like 100 followers or something. So subscribe to us. We'll get that shit going. But yeah, if you go through our playlists, we have like monthly jam highlights which I made last night. You can go through some of the jams, man, and like check those out if you can't watch the streams directly. Which, if you can't watch the streams directly, me saying this shit on a stream is really stupid because you're not watching it because you can't watch it. So you can't see the solution I'm giving you. So I'll let you guys know. But yeah, for everybody else to go watch our highlights, just give them a like. They have like 0 views, man. It's fucking embarrassing. I've seen like children. There's the video called How to Open a Door on YouTube has like 133 million views. So please, watch our shit, man. Like a lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into it. And that's just on Mondays when nothing's happening. So imagine all the shit that goes on, on Fridays and Saturdays, man. Like, it's hard, and
Yes.
come watch our shit, and or don't watch it, then we won't do it. But if you watch it, we'll do it. And eventually we have to move out of this house. So we gotta get another place. So let us know. I guess the world is letting us know somewhat how much interest there is in this. But you're on thin ice, internet. You gotta fucking show up to these things. Engage. And share with your you can't watch it. Just share with your friends. Just tell your friends, hey, there's this kind of thing going on. Just share it. And don't share it without saying anything. Be like, hey man, this is like a cool thing, man. Even all you fucking people who show up here, like Roshan, all these fucking people, right? Like
Dropping names.
Ben, yeah, I'm dropping names. Ben, all you people need to share us more, because you come here, you have fun. You don't wash your fucking cups and shit. I wash your cups. I take your beer cans to the trash. So just share the stream and be like, yeah, man, these guys do a lot of valuable work, and you have fun when you show up. So just tell people about all the fun you've been having. Nobody wants to be like, man, I don't want to like say things on social media because it's not cool. No, you know what? You're not cool because you care about what is cool. So you'll never be cool because you're always too busy caring about what's cool. So just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just like write a heartfelt message once on social media. It's really fun. I do it all the time. Take a load off my chest. It's great. Just, share, comment, subscribe.
We should instead of tickets, we should just share it on your page and then.
Yeah, there you go. You fuckers don't ever donate to us. There's a donation box here. Nobody donates. So,
I do.
and you guys don't pick up after yourselves. So please share. And I love all of you. I hope you don't think, don't think that this is me being like complaining pants. I just want something in return for something. And so I will pick up your beer cans because God knows you don't. But share this platform because, we've been thinking about paying for ads, and let's not make that happen because I don't want to pay Facebook. I would rather pay it forward if people paid it forward. That's how you have a movement. We want small donations of $27 on average. We don't want the millionaires and billionaires to give us money, right? So we want jam sessions for all. So yeah, donate. Should we wrap this up?
Yes.
Long story short, please share this. Engage with this in any way. It breaks my heart, and you don't wanna die, do you? Okay. I keep saying things I need to recover from before we go offline. Yeah, man. No, straight up. I said what I said. See you soon. I hope. All right, bye.